Now, as a grandson of a preacher and someone that was birthed in the church, I was taught that traditional marriage is good, it is just, and it is God ordained.
You just heard from Abraham Enriquez, who is an anti-gay Republican congressional candidate running in the 19th District of Texas. He's been endorsed by CPAC, Turning Point Action, and even Governor Greg Abbott. And you saw a clip of him giving a speech at Trinity Church where he talked about how he fought the woke mob at his Christian college, and he won. And he goes on to explain in that speech that as the vice president of his student body, he vetoed a bill that would have allowed pro-LGBTQ plus groups on campus. And the backlash to that was so intense that he momentarily considered resigning. That is, until his mother threatened to disown him for backing down. So he remained steadfast in his opposition to homosexuality and defeated the woke deviants. But even though he won the battle, he seemingly lost the war, because Current Revolt published allegations from a man who claims that Enriquez was caught hunting for cock on Grindr. They write, the man claims he met Enriquez on the gay dating app Grindr and provided them with text messages of the relationship between the two of them at the same time that Enriquez was allegedly fighting homosexuality at his college. And in one of the texts, quote, the man asked if he was coming on too strong when he mentioned his erect penis, but Enriquez assured him that it was, quote, perfect, because of course, anti-gay Republicans, I swear to God, are the homosexualist of them all. And I've come to assume that the level of hate that they espouse towards queer people is directly proportional to their level of thirst for cock. It's getting to the point where you can determine a Republican's sexual interests based purely on who they hate the most with a pretty high degree of accuracy. If they espouse xenophobia, odds are they're attracted to immigrants. If they're explicitly transphobic, odds are they're either externalizing an internal struggle and they're trans themselves, or they're attracted to trans people themselves. And that's not even conjecture at this point. A 2022 analysis conducted by lawsuit.org found that transgender porn is the most popular in the most transphobic parts of the country. In fact, support for discrimination isn't just statistically correlated with the desire for trans porn. The intensity of the bigotry in any given area is also an indicator of the level of interest in trans porn. In other words, the more you hate them, the more you love them, as their researchers put it. So it's not a coincidence that ass-backward states in the Deep South are the most obsessed with trans porn. And this was already obvious based on anecdotal evidence. YouTuber Kat Black, a trans woman, talks about this all the time, and she published a TikTok that I'm going to link to down below, where she discusses a conversation that she had with a Trump supporter in Orange County who said that he opposed Democrats because of their support for trans rights, yet told her that he wanted to have sex with her because, again, they are attracted to who they hate the most. But it almost feels wrong to describe their vitriol as mere hate, because it's transcended just hate. We've reached the point where the Lemkin Institute has sounded the alarm about trans Americans being at risk for genocide in the United States. And I'd say that that's a reasonable assessment given how the White House has designated so-called radical pro-transgender groups as terrorists and explicitly told them, quote, we will find you and we will kill you. Not to mention, anti-trans laws in red states spawned a literal domestic refugee crisis, with cities such as Seattle struggling to keep up with the influx of domestic migrants. Although, we'd be happy to have you in Portland. Our political climate is also dog shit. We're a gentrified neoliberal mess here politically, but culturally, we are very welcoming as a city, and I'm proud of that. But I say all this to say that it doesn't really matter why bigots are the way they are, right? They're making life worse for people, regardless if they're attracted to queer people or not. So I don't care at the end of the day. Nonetheless, I think that it's still worthwhile to call out their hypocrisy for purposes of deterrence, because you might not be able to necessarily shame the shameless, but if they think that their bigotry makes them suspicious to the rest of us, then maybe, just maybe, they'll think twice before spouting their hateful bullshit. But to get back to Enriquez, to be clear, these are just allegations. Yes, this article provides receipts, but they haven't been proven yet. And to my knowledge, just one person has accused him of homosexuality. But with that being said, after conducting a thorough visual analysis myself, I can say with a 97.8% degree of confidence that this man is indeed at least a 5 on the Kinsey scale. And if you're unsure, you can always do the photo test, which is where you take a picture of somebody to get a glimpse at their soul, because the homosexuality might not be detectable in real life, but you might be able to see it in a picture. And when you look at this photo of Enriquez, you can see that his essence has in fact been captured here. This man has the soul of Richard Simmons, even though he has the heart of a demon. And if you still don't believe me, let me prove it to you. So I'm just going to take a picture myself, just a regular picture. See, normal picture, not making any faces in particular. But when you look at the actual picture, you can see my true essence, right? Like it comes out and you can't hide it. So in my estimation, I think it's fairly obvious that this man is a homosexual who was taught to repress his homosexuality. But the question is, I mean, why not just come out? It's 2026. And even though fascists have taken over the country and corporations like Hobby Lobby are still trying to ban marriage equality, I'd argue that it's more agonizing to perpetually live in the closet. And I'm not trying to downplay societal bigotry. It is still very much a problem, contrary to popular belief. But when the alternative is to pretend that you're someone you're not, I just think it's worth it to take the hit to your career as a Republican to just fucking be yourself. Also, there's some benefits to not having a secret that can be exploited. This was actually posed to Lindsey Graham recently.
Hey, Lindsey, why don't you just admit that you're gay and then people won't blackmail you anymore?
Now, in all fairness to Lindsey Graham, it's kind of hard to blackmail him when we already know his secret. But when it comes to Enriquez, this scandal is obviously going to throw a wrench in his political career, and he hasn't addressed the article at the time that I'm recording this, but we all know that he's definitely seen it. He's definitely read it, and he knows about these allegations. So why not just cut the bullshit and come out already and stop making life worse for LGBTQ plus people? Well, the obvious answer is because they don't want to be subjected to the bigotry that they've subjected others to by the party that they support. And I'm sure that that's part of it. But the real reason, I think, is that their fascism is more important to them than their own self-worth. I call it the Caitlyn Jenner effect, or Caitlyn Jenner syndrome, where someone is willing to support a party that explicitly hates them, either because they hate poor people or immigrants more than they love themselves. In fact, gay Trump supporters would literally argue that rejection from fellow queer people is what makes it hard to be a queer, not bigotry from society and bigotry that's implemented by the Republican Party. And in an article for the Washington Blade, several gay Trump supporters talked about how lonely they are because members of their own community refuse to tolerate their intolerance. Quote, "When Evan decided it was time to tell his boyfriend that he voted for Trump, he couldn't get the words out. I was stuttering for 20 minutes straight on the phone," he told Uncloseted Media and Gay Times. Love the names of those outlets. Once he finally worked up the courage, he was met with pushback. "He made fun of me. He called me a racist and a white supremacist," says Evan, a 21-year-old math major who lives in Long Island, New York. Yeah, can't blame him. Nick Duncan, 43, can relate to Evan's fears about being an open Trump supporter. "I mostly get hatred. I've never lost a conservative friend because I'm gay. But I've lost all of my gay friends because I'm conservative." Sure, buddy. "I've divorced myself from what I refer to as the alphabet mafia." Oh no, come back. Duncan says he feels so unwelcome by the LGBTQ community that he's hesitant to attend queer events. "Nowadays, I would never go to a pride event," Duncan told Uncloseted Media and Gay Times. "I don't feel that I would be safe." Okay, yeah, because we're going to beat your ass. Shut the fuck up. For Chris Doan, 56, voting Republican is the only choice that makes sense, as he believes voting for a Democrat goes directly against his interests as a queer man. Here's his logic. "Conservatives don't want to murder gays. They want them saved," he says. "Muslims vote Democrat because if the Democrats win, they get to stay in the U.S. They get to take power, and they will murder gays brutally with a smile on their face," says Doan. Right, because 1% of the population who's statistically more supportive than Christians is the bigger threat than Republicans. Makes sense. Doan also feels that his rights are secure under Trump 2.0 and approves of the president so far. "I voted for that great big beautiful wall because we were being overrun by illegals," he says. Doan also approves of U.S. interventions in Iran and Venezuela, though he criticizes Trump for leaving Venezuela too soon. Similarly, Duncan is generally approving of Trump's handling of immigration. "I don't love what we're doing as far as deportations, but we had to get some control over the illegal population," says Duncan. "I wish there was another way, but I can't think of it." So, as you can see, they sound like wonderful people. It's just shocking that no queer people would want to be friends with them. But, I mean, on a serious note, they are very clearly oozing cognitive dissonance. They know Republicans don't like them, but they don't care so long as Republicans hate immigrants and Muslims more. And they're too stupid to realize that Republicans see them the same way that they see immigrants and Muslims. In fact, there's a quote from Evan in this article where he says that I realized I'm normal. I'm not LGBTQ. I'm just gay. But he doesn't realize it doesn't fucking work that way. He is definitionally abnormal to Republicans because he is deviating from the norm in the same way that Muslims and immigrants deviate from the norm. To Republicans, anything outside of heteronormativity, Christianity, and caucasity aren't just abnormal, they're threats to what they perceive to be normal. And these dummies think that they're part of the club when they're going to go into the same exact blender that Republicans are going to throw immigrants and Muslims in. But therein lies the problem with modern-day American conservatism. It's not conservatism. It's straight-up fascism. It's no longer just about free market neoliberalism and traditional values. It's about destroying minorities and forging an authoritarian white ethno-state Christian nationalist theocracy. And even though it behooves them to oppose that as gay men, they're willing to go down with the ship so long as they get to see immigrants go down too. That's what this is about. They would happily cut off their fucking noses to spite their faces because they are Republicans after all. And to be clear, all Republicans are as hateful and selfish as they are stupid. But the takeaway is that nobody is as hateful and selfish and stupid as gay Republicans, because that takes a special level of dumb fuckery to have such an irrational hatred for minorities that you tolerate hatred towards you just to stick it to people that you hate. Where you're fine with getting fucked over so long as people that you hate get fucked over more. I mean, this sentiment has fueled the Republican Party for decades. So many poor white people, let's be real, would rather die poor than have social programs that will lift them out of poverty if it means that those same social programs would also lift black people and immigrants out of poverty too. They'd rather have nothing if the alternative is that minorities get anything. It truly is a sickness, and queer people obviously aren't immune to that, especially white queer people. And I'd say that I feel sorry for them, but I genuinely don't. I wish nothing but the worst for these people. So whenever you hear about gay Republicans or Republican politicians getting caught cruising for cock on Grindr, we all have a responsibility, in my opinion, to shame the shit out of them. Not because being gay is shameful, but because being a hate-mongering hypocrite is.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games.
F around and find out.
Prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid game. Pride. Trans rights are human rights. It is necessary to push trans on the kids. Pride.